They're commenting on Chuck's ears? Really? So not only having to watch the healthcare leader comments, but also the comments on my screen. I'm sure I'm going to miss a lot of comments on the screen. They're going over the guidelines for Healthcare Leader, which we do every year. Healthcare Leader is a blog, but it's primarily a chat for me. Every Tuesday night at 8:30, a whole bunch of healthcare leaders get together and talk about different topics. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Louisville, Kentucky. And right now everyone is introducing themselves before talking about the discussion on authentic listening. And Dr. Stork just commented at Stork Brian is commenting on a conversation on HL7 standards, which I barely understand, but I'm sure that Chuck understands it real well. Who is that? It's good to see you, Anil, and see what you think. Are you on the chat as well? Let's see, still doing introductions here. No, just Periscope. Okay. Well, I hope you'll understand it by the time I start talking about it. We've got LA checking in, Kyle Murray. Got some nice hearts. Thank you. And we're still checking in. We haven't quite got the first topic going yet. And T1 should be coming up shortly. That would be, let's see, I think I have T1 over on my other screen. Let's see how I do, Jimmy. Let's see, topic 1 is going to be how critical is the need for authentic listening in healthcare and why? Is this related to the doctor shortage? Which is put in quotes. And we've got Canada checking in. There's Chuck. Hey, Chuck. Yeah, I kind of know what it is, but I don't quite understand how it works. That's HL7. They're asking people to stay on topic, but not yet introduce the first topic. I follow it on tchat.io. If you go to tchat.io, you can pick out hashtag HCLDR, and that will get you to, thanks Colin, 1 minute for topic 1, and that will get you to be able to follow the chat, which goes really fast. Okay, if you go to tchat.io, you can follow the chat online, which is probably going to tell you a lot more than what I'm going to tell you. So T1 should be coming up any second now. And I do not think that authentic listening contributes to the doctor shortage. I just think it contributes to poor care. So I'll get ready to write that. We got Manila here too. T-chat, yes, that's it. You go to that website, you'll be able to put in hashtag HCLDR. Okay, now we're ready for T1 coming up. So I'm typing in my comment to T1 since I suspect that's the only one I will get in. Poor care and diagnosis. Okay, so when they introduce T1, I'm going to say, I don't think that lack of authentic listening contributes to the doctor shortage, but it contributes to poor care and diagnosis. Poor diagnoses. Okay, T1 is up. Yay. How critical is the need for authentic listening in healthcare and why? Is this related to the doctor shortage? And it's interesting, I had to do a meditation on mindfulness today, and I think that's really important in authentic listening. Let's see, we got no responses. Authentic listening is a requisite step in authentic engagement. That's Sarah Green comments that. And critical. Sir William Osler listened to diagnose. Listen in order, right. If you listen to the patient, as Jimmy is saying, you listen to the patient will give you the diagnosis. That's what Dr. Osler believed, and I've certainly found that true. Haven't you, Jimmy, found that true? You can't get a good diagnosis if you have a patient that really can't give you enough information. Let's see. Deborah Barrett says, no, wait. As a patient can tell when not being heard, and that has potential implications on my health. It matters. Courage Sings, at Courage Sings, comments that. Andre Thino says, listening is key to understanding. It helps validate or invalidate assumptions. Listening has to work both ways. Both parties are responsible. That's from Gail Marie. Stephen Davidson comments, in my emergency practice, building a credible connect in little time requires authentic listening to the patient, but there's tension within the patient. Cancer Geek, authentic listening should be the outcome healthcare drives toward. All the tech, apps, EHR should enable increased listening. Boy, isn't that true. I'm going to favorite that because right now most of them don't. Droopy Social Worker comments that back to me, though I think MD shortage contributes to less authentic listening because of no time. Do you think, let's see, Colin comments, do you think MedEd will eventually make time for this type of training? Oh, I wish it would, but I doubt it. But from my daughter's experience, who's a third-year medical student, I doubt it. You're right, it has to. It's got to get better. But what? Medical students spend 10 minutes out of, 10 minutes out of every hour listening to a patient? Something like that? That's horrible. Let's see. Hold on. See, it's impossible to listen. Jonathan Ware, MD, we must force it to go there. Otherwise, we are just continuing the silly cycle. In Resolution Care, Michael D. Fratkin says, my heart goes out to all our colleagues driven by productivity rather than the creation of value with those that come to us. Thanks, Jimmy. Fitzy Health says authentic listening is needed in all relationships that are important. We feel diminished if we are not heard. And again, we can't, if we don't hear, we can't make a diagnosis. Bernadette Keefe, I'm not sure how to say her last name, states it's unusual time in healthcare, two different pushes, increased and deeper communication between MD and patient communicating / self-care with phone. That's true, but I think the self-care with the phone really helps me to communicate with my patient because I can ask them what they're thinking. Again, Disher MD comments, and if you really hear them, they will show you the way to help them. Absolutely true. Yinka Vidal says, many years ago we used to think patients are stupid and we refuse to listen. Social media changes everything. Yeah, insurance seems to limit treatment. Boy, that's the truth. Or just struggling with insurance sometimes limits treatment. Colin Rhodes comments, nowhere is listening in healthcare more important than when dealing with ASD kids. ASD. Okay, somebody interpret ASD. You talking about the heart? Pat Rich, sad to say I do not think many Canadian doctors can afford authentic listening much, though. Bernadette Keefe, in my opinion, the physician-patient relationship is central to good outcomes. Thus, quality of conversation and depth / degree of understanding is key. Absolutely true. Dana Holmes comments, is inauthentic listening more about how we pay providers than anything else? And T1, let's see, Dr. Bradford Holland's half of medical Twitter focused on population health. Who needs to listen when we're treating the population instead of the patient? I sometimes worry about that myself when we're beginning population health in our hospital, and I do worry about that. Atheno, as we sit staring at the back of clinician as they tap away and, quote, answer our concerns, question mark. This is a systemic problem. Michael, I think the joy of medicine comes from listening. Yeah, you're right, Jimmy. That makes my day when I get the opportunity and the chance to really spend the day talking to patients. That's just huge. And on the days that I'm rushed, I come home and feel like, what have I done? Have I done everything right? What have I missed? Andre Thino quotes at Coffee Mommy, but the EHR is often sold as being the golden truth about the patient. Process seems to reinforce that. Prayer at Paved Silver Road. I know a lot of patients who listen but don't agree with the path, labeled non-compliant, and no one wins in that. That's true. Bonnie Sheeran comments, attended palliative care conference in Texas today. Listening / caring requires a team approach. I think that's becoming really, really important. Justin Smith at the Doc Smitty, with new technologies, I just lost him. We have to teach new MDs to listen in person and in digital world, face-to-face and through virtual visits. Virtual visits. I'd love to be able to do that with some of my patients. I think I'd have some more opportunities for care in between visits. At Cancer Geek, when we say, "How are you?" mean it. That goes a long, long way towards authenticity and success. Bones never looked at his computer. I'm not sure what Bones he's talking about. Oh, on Star Trek. That's cool. Your daughter just made a basket. Oh, and you thought she was going to be on the bench. That's terrific. The EHR is a poorly curated set of facts about billing, from Colin Rhodes. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. Let's see. Back to Osler. Listen to the patient. This is good. Katie Hanlon. At K Hanlon. Hello, healthcare leader. Authentic listening is hearing with more than the ears. It is with the whole heart. I like that. Ken Gordon. How many doctors know how to listen with their entire selves? How many even know that this skill is absolutely required of them? Ken, I think a lot of us do. I just think we get lost in our distracting processes. And also, you get fatigued toward the end of the day. It gets tough to hang on to that need to be mindful. Just saying. Oh, wait a minute. That's a hashtag. Greg Masters. Medicine needs lots of love and hugs, too. Thanks. I like that. Listening is a form of observation. Observation is key to scientific discovery, from Ed Mariano at E. Mariano, MD. Let's see. Agreed. I can only commit to the listening by this chicken, parentheses me. I trust the eggs will follow. Oh, that's interesting. Boy, I'm hoping you're right, Jimmy. At Coffee Mom comments that it's not easy to switch. Managed care is not easy to switch a primary, and more difficult for the elderly and in the rural areas. I'm sure that's true. Dr. Sylvia Bowley, which is at Fit with 2 T's MD, comments, true in most settings, she's answering something, but balancing working with an EHR makes eye contact hard. Now I must listen and frantically type. Yeah, that gets really interesting. Sarah Green at Research Matters asks, do any of you who have felt listened to during an encounter ever given your clinician that feedback and appreciated him or her for it? That would be nice. It would be nice to have some feedback from patients while I'm sitting there typing and trying to look at them, and maybe we need to ask for more feedback and ask them before we start talking to them. Am I looking at you enough? Am I talking to you? And making eye contact. Do you feel listened to? Dr. Bradford Holland at Dr. Brad Holland comments, goal of the visit is now to fill out insurance form called a clinic note and satisfy informatics. Remember when it was to heal? ? You getting the feedback all the time? That's cool. That's very cool. I wish I could have that shared screen. I've just got a huge screen that the patient can see, which is better than the laptop in my lap now. T2. Topic 2. Do you agree with Dr. Verghese's characterization of the healthcare treating eye patients versus real patients? And eye patients are what he defines as the patient in the EHR, that you're treating this eye patient instead of treating the patient himself or herself. Let's see, get back up to T2. They're still following. No one's commenting on T2 that I can tell. T1, it's all good. Walk in prepared, make eye contact, wait for reciprocation. That's coming from Stacy Tinievo. Tiniev, I can't say her last name. Nick Adkins comments, what if Watson listened and typed for you? Hold on, that ride's going to go real fast. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having Watson in my office. T2, eye patient defined as someone who got a consult from Dr. Google before seeking care from their provider. No, that's not what he meant by a eye patient. Okay, Colin just made me laugh. My soothing voice. It's kind of a deep voice. This weekend, a patient kept saying, sir. T2, outside of healthcare, tech is used to simplify our ability to connect with more people. Inside, it creates barriers to connections. Yeah, we have to intertwine tech and care. We have to. I agree. And Joe, I don't know how to say his last name, Joe Babayan comments that there's an app for that. Let's hope so. Eye patient as someone treated like a number, an account, a code to be processed, commented by at Research Matters. Gosh, I hope not. Joe B, that's good. Joe B. Making the choice. Let's see. Thanks. I don't know what that was. Dr. Brad Holland, though doing these things demonstrates a valuing and listening. Commenting about open EHR notes, which I think is Q. Oh, good. Thanks, Chuck. 2. If eye patients are the documentary representation of cases and productivity, we have lost our bearings. How am I doing this plus the T-chat? I'm mostly just commenting on Periscope. Important for physicians, look and listen to patient rather than devoting attention to computer and EMRs. Could scribes help here? Scribes could certainly help, but you have to have a system who's willing to pay for it if you're an employed doctor. At Brad Holland, I don't have clients, I have codes. Oh, that's really dark. That's really dark. I don't have clients or codes, I have patients, is what I have to say for that. Today, T2 from Rasu Shretha. Today we are paid to do to people rather than for people. This is the essence of what is wrong with volume-based care. And when you're a primary care doctor, it's good that I can't do a whole lot of things to people, so I have to talk to them. T2, if the people, this is from Resolution Care, if the people I am seeing remotely via telemedicine are not eye patients or patients at all, they are people like you and me. That's cool. Jonathan Ware comments that Dr. Verghese was spot on. The eye patient has taken over, but it's time to return to basics. Lift your face from the bright screen. I got 2 bright screens here. Technology should enhance care, not replace it. There can be a both and a solution. That's from Stacy Tenianov, which is at Coffee Mommy. Yes, yeah, I agree with that. We can't multitask because it's not efficient, and Jennifer Platt, Dr. PhD, comments on that. T2 Justin Smith, weird tension. We are trying to get precise data, which can be dehumanizing, but we must remember that data belongs to a person. True. Helena Hamilton comments, after a bad ER visit, I read the notes and found the eye patient did not resemble me at all. Speaking of multitasking, yes. I'm a woman. I'm supposed to be good at it, right? Illusion of efficiency is creating the doctor shortage. Take time to listen well. I lost that because I read Chuck, which I agree that we can learn from data, but we have to be able to collect it efficiently. Not efficiently, but be able to interpret the data and get it well. Let's see. Katie Hanlon comments on, yes, workflow. I agree. Making the patient part of the EHR process, a partner, as Jimmy Vanagon does so well. That's right. And that really, when that works, it just really makes for a great visit. I agree with you about graphing the data. That would be so cool to be able to show that to patients. And what little I can do, they really appreciate. And they're also asking for it. At Coffee Mama, great point. Technology should enhance care, not replace care. I like this. This is back on T1. Need new confirmation model too. Being repeatedly asked the same questions gives patient the sense no one is listening, even if they are. And that's true. Patients comment about that in the hospital all the time. That was from @Stephen Rains. T2, looking at patients as a number or EMR entry loses the individuality and causes clinician to miss key health and social issues. That's true. And that's at Aaron Head, underline HIM. We need to move from being a sick care system to an actual healthcare system. I certainly hear that a lot. That's from Dr. Brad Holland. In the ER, Stephen Davidson comments, in the ER we have no choice. People come in need. We must respond. Volume reality, not a choice. Yeah, that would be cool. We need a third person involved, I think, to do that, Chuck. We have T2 Justin Smith. We have to remember to focus on patient narrative as scaffolding for data. Data falls flat without it. Yeah, got to agree with that. And Colin asked if we need a wellness system. We got both. We've got to work with both. 18 seconds to interrupt is a fun stat, but how generalizable is it? Ooh, that's from Liam Farrell in Ireland. And I remember that data, but I think it's old, but I don't think it's probably changed. Most specialists of an organ system listen worse. I hope palliative care docs listen better, from Resolution Care at Michael D. Fretkin. Let's see. Cancer Geek comments, wrong code means you need better coders. Work to top of license, not the bottom. True. Tie game. You got to get your daughter to make a few more baskets there. Colin comments that patient story provides the context for the data. Data alone is okay, but much better with context. That is going to be cool. And she has 4 points. How old is your daughter, Jimmy? Let's see, T1, rock and dot. Get your head out of the computer, make eye contact, and make notes of, she's got college next year, of questions to avoid frustrating patients with interruptions. It's hard to do when you're typing. You got to type fast. Most palliative care folks. Oh, she's 12. Okay, okay. Most palliative care folks I know seem to have gotten training on how to handle those difficult situations. Most palliative care folks I know do just a terrific job. People who work with code, data, numbers usually take special care and pride in their work. Do we do that with eye patients? That's from Dana Holmes. Probably depends on the doctor. Personalized templates too. Yeah, I'm going to need a lot of those when I start on Epic in a month. Sarah Green, I'm an EHR proponent, but the exam room computer doesn't help the ability to authentically listen. Unless you work it like Jimmy does, yeah. Good doctors seem to be able to read a great deal as the patient comes into the room from gait, demeanor, etc. Colin Rhodes. Yeah, you should learn that in medical school. Steve MD. Recently I learned how to better listen, small talk, take history, complete exam, all from a photographer. Thanks, Chuck. Helena Hamilton again. As an HIT pro, it's tempting to build EMR to capture data for reporting, quality research, etc., but does it serve the patient? That's the comment. Okay, topic 3's up. What experiences do you have with poor or no communication in healthcare? Do you find a way to overcome? Man, I think that sometimes the hardest is when you're just not communicating with the patient and you know it and you can't quite figure out how to climb out of the hole. And resolution care. For sure, our training has actually come from listening. Nice paradox. I think that was a comment made to somebody. Rasu Shretha comments, where has healthcare ever worked better on macroscopic system than microscopic? System mentality is partially killing us. I got to think about that. You won? The game's over? Congratulations. Colin Rhodes, I'm concerned about the drive to surrogate endpoints as well. This will lead to some bad drug decisions. I think it's already leading to some bad drug decisions. Demands can be offset by other models and people as well, better designed by developers and users. Absolutely. I'd settle for an open text box. I certainly don't need an ICD code to write down my concerns. Yeah, the game as well. They won. Yes. We shouldn't be taking iPad to the patient's room except to show medical pictures of heart, etc. Balance is needed. That's coming from Yinka Vidal. Unfortunately, I can't remember unless I'm writing some down. And I don't have time not to do it in the room. T3 found busy ER team better listeners than primary care MD when family had an accident in 2010. Small margin for error equal better listening, maybe? I wonder. T3 Cancer Geek. I saw lack of communication lead to 45 plus days of diagnosis. I think that means taking diagnosis. Design communication model should be 72 hours or less. Let's see. Good to acknowledge the benefits of EMRs. Must find a balance between data entry and engaging the patient. Jennings Health. And droopy social worker. Doctor blew off my concerns regarding addictive behavior when I refused pain pills for broken ankle. I must not hurt. Well, that's nice. How can you not hurt with a broken ankle? T3 is personal for me. 2 years ago, I almost died because ER doc did not listen. I almost died with extensive DVT and PE. I was not heard. That's Helena Hamilton at Tweetly Saved. That's, yeah, that's, I can see where that could happen, and that's awful. Dr. Bradford Holland, EHR is the worst part of communication. I get 20 pages of records, one visit worth for a bead in the nose. So I ignore records. Yeah, I get 36 pages of records, and I'm trying to comb through them to find the one sentence I really need to know about. Meducate, T3, what experience do you have with poor communication in healthcare? Oh, she's retweeting T3. Never mind. The EMR today is a transitional system primarily for billing, but it's evolving. Yes, some of them are getting better, I think. Translate Med, yeah, no wait. Lots of professionals use it as a crutch or a script. Need better lessons on how to use it, the EHR. You know, I think that can be true too. I think sometimes physicians use the EHR as an excuse for not doing a better job, frankly. T3, Stacy, learning curve. It is a learning curve, but they're sometimes unwilling to take the time to learn it. I don't know why they think that it would be easy to learn. Oncologists who didn't listen or respect my wishes to avoid chemo. I asked breast surgeon for recommendation for a new one. That's another T3. Standard battery of tests ordered by specialist. PCP said not necessary. Delayed surgery because surgeon wondered why test was not done. I think these are all comments on, you know, where these people have experienced issues. Coffee Mama, it is encouraging that so many docs change when you point out that you feel they aren't listening. Good ones do listen. We do try. I hope I'm a good one. Anyway. Let's see. Narrative is data. You can't truly separate. Patients don't exist in a medical vacuum. That's kind of cool. From @RustyHo, Michelle Rogers. T3, at former doc's office, when I entered room and stood in front of a receptionist, she didn't acknowledge I was there. Not okay. I've seen that happen personally in other doctors' offices. Retweet, Susan Woolner, Dr. Google sees people immediately in seconds. Real providers have long wait times, often multiple weeks. Next generation patient-centered databases should be graph-based, like Facebook, to derive knowledge in the edge cases of treatment. That would be kind of cool. More visualization in EHRs. I'd really like that. One of my friends told me he refused to leave the doctor's office until all his questions were answered. He felt sorry for non-healthcare providers. Not sure how that fit together. So meta, it is. Let's see. A simple, I don't know, but I'm willing to walk with you would be so much more helpful instead of randomly diagnosing. From P.F. Anderson, one of my favorite people. Yeah, I agree. We need to be able to say, I don't know, but I'll help you. T3, in my role as care coordinator, I'm going to need way more than 140 characters. That's from @StuckOnSW. Tech like Skype, Translate, and telehealth has implications for access and quality of care. Colin, more cases of bad or non-communication than the opposite, even in this great system of ours. T3, Dr. Sylvia Bowley. I have learned a lot from my proactive patients. They come prepared with their problem list, listen actively, and ask questions. That is the best patient. It really makes for an enjoyable interaction between both of us. Sometimes a doctor visit feels like those poorly organized meetings with no agendas and hasty conclusions. That's from Andre Thino, and boy, is that true. P.F. Anderson, searching PubMed, I'm finding many articles on listening to patients use dignity. That says a lot about what non-listening means. I agree, that's true, dignity. Twitter-based EHR. You know, we might have much shorter notes that way. I might actually be able to get to the cusp, to the important parts of what's going on with the patient. Not practical. Docs haven't enough time to address real-life issues and can't work a week ahead. I'm not sure what that response was to. Oh, well. T3, I've learned from my close call to keep asking to speak to someone else until I'm heard. I may get a difficult label, but that's from Helena Hamilton, the person whose DVT and PE was missed. And Stacy Tinianov says, as a reminder, when you catch someone doing something right, call it out too. Thanks, Doc. I really felt heard today. That's pretty cool. Droopy social worker comments that she's heavily tattooed and MD bias turns on right away with me. That's unfortunate. T3 from Bernadette Keefe. Second opinions are an extremely important option which patients should freely exercise. Back to those meetings. The MD didn't read the materials in advance. EHRs need to prep with most relevant info. Wouldn't that be cool if you opened the EHR before you walked in the door and the EHR could somehow pull out, like Apple and Google is trying to do, the important things you need before you walk in the door. I have to go through the whole chart before I walk. And not the whole chart, but important stuff. Dr. Google can be important for triage, I think, for the health literate. That's from Pat Rich, which is at CMAER. Rand Patterson comments, my poor experience when doc is overloaded or preoccupied, but many times I've been passive and not able to articulate symptoms and pain. Bernadette Keefe comments, for me, an unsatisfactory experience with the physicians. I will never see them again, period. That seems reasonable. I just lost. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, T3, why is this patient diagnosed with psychosis when it could be a UTI? A very common example, I find. True, that's more delirium and related to the elderly usually. Okay, T4. What can we do to shift the model and create the real connections that enable care once more? And I would start with mindfulness in the doctor and the patient in the room. T4. I think that's the second thing I've been able to type. Talking a little bit about the front office being the face of the care team. Get it right from the gate. That's important. And sometimes we doctors don't know how wrong it's going up front if no one tells us. Another comment, sending patients to the behavioral unit instead of ruling out physical causes first. Let's see. Ruth Ann Crystal comments that reading EMR notes can be confusing sometimes. Many notes are exactly the same because of templates. That's true. Characterizing physician listening behavior during hospitalist handoffs during the HEAR checklist. I don't know what the HEAR checklist is. I'm going to have to look that up. That's from P.F. Anderson. I think we're talking about T4. I think the issue isn't to leave the patient in panic. They said they don't know what's wrong. We have to know that they're not in panic. Yeah. Andre Thino comments, how to create connections? I know, more press gainy surveys. I hope he is being sarcastic. And Dr. Webster, Chuck, comments, see my recent workflow interoperability series, and gives us a link. More patient advisory groups from Jonathan Ware. Docs will get it when they hear constructive criticism. I think that's a good idea. We have no patient advisory groups in our system, or in our hospital anyway, our hospital group. Real connections can improve well-being on both sides, MD and patient, but at the end of the day, do they improve outcomes? Question mark. Pat Rich. Need more data. Encouraging person-centered thinking and realizing this patient is a human. Bird by Bird is a great example. Coming from Courtney, I'm not sure what she means by bird by bird. Dr. Bradford Holland comments, step away from the EHR. Nick Adkins, embrace that we are all in this together, not us versus them, just us. And Sarah Green comments that shift starts when C-suite places value on compassion, engagement, and caring. Helena Hamilton suggests that scribes can help the MDs to listen, but there's a cost associated, and who pays for that? In our system, you have to see 35 patients a day to get a scribe. T4, patient walks in the door, gets tablet with their record, patient verifies, carries record, patient and MD look at it together, from Steve Raines. What a great idea. Interested in ideas to make Slack med work, low cost to implement, but do need to pay attention to HIPAA. That's David States. I don't know what Slack med is. T4, Cancer Geek. Remember that at the start and end of each day, we are all humans. Humans need to connect. We connect by listening to one another. Justin Smith. I think we have to start to innovate not only with patients in mind, but involved in design process of new communication and connection strategy. Absolutely got to get the end users involved. Yinka Vidal, as long as we have a computer, it has taken place of communication. A balance is required. Look and listen to the patient. Yes. Catch the Baby does her vast majority of documenting away from the patient so she can have a conversation. Don't leave the patient with no way forward, from Michelle Roger. And Yinka Vidal again says, ask yourself the question as healthcare provider. When children are playing, how many times do you call them before they answer? Distractions? Not sure where he was going with that. EMRs fail as communication coordination tools. Need something lightweight and quick, like old paper notes, only legible. That's from David States, at States DJ. I don't think I want to go back to paper, believe it or not. At Droopy Social Worker, no, this is Katie Hanlon. Today I listen with my whole self as if to paint a picture I will take with me. We'll strive to always do that. Need new care setting from the ground up that pays for value, compassion, authentic engagement, then show that it works. Agree. And Colin comments, to truly shift, we need to change reimbursement to provide time and incentive for people to connect. Doctor, patient, doctor, nurse, etc. Doctor, I think is important. I don't get enough communication with my fellow physicians a lot. Um, Jonathan Ware, come on, healthcare leader, community, give us some suggestions that we can act on immediately. I'm all open ears. It's up to us. Let's go to it. Hashtag shift. Liam Farrell from Ireland comments that, as with so many medical failings, it comes down to docs not having enough time. More time, and he has 3 exclamation marks. And of course, he works in the national health system over there. Yinka Vidal, just because a patient is stuck with a computer doesn't reduce quality of care. Correction, please. Listening more to patient can help, of course. Rasu Shreth, chase the care, not just the cure. The race for the care, a vision for patient-centered care, and he gives a link there. Research matters. Vendors, I think, need to design new care setting from ground up that pays for value and compassion. We talked about that. T. Ford, sometimes people look at you as if they're listening and they're not hearing. Mine can be elsewhere. Healthcare providers are no exception. We're human. That's from Razu Shref, I think. No, Yinka Vidal. Yeah. Our system can't afford time. So sad. Cancer Geek says reality is that the model is shifting. Healthcare organizations may be too clunky to make change. If decide not to change, ultimately lose patients. I think we're going to see a lot of that. I hope so, anyway. Sean Arriger, T4, demonstrate that programs promote listening, dignity, and shared decision making. Make them work. Let's see. C. Meyer, yes, sadly a consequence of UHC is that we have more demand than supply can fulfill. We are biased to efficiency versus quality time. We are biased to efficiency versus quality time. We have bias. Let's see. T4, after my bad experience, that's the woman, Helena Hamilton. Instead of suing, I spent 2 hours with the Vice President of Medical Affairs, and we brainstormed process changes. Now, that's helpful. That's truly helpful. Donna Holmes, I'm always preaching about how the conversation changes when you invite a patient to the conversation. That's true. Droopy social worker, the computer is someplace that stores the data I put into it. It's not the discussion itself, just a tool. And this is Dr. Bradford Holland, and this is why microsystems rather than macro systems may win out in healthcare. Hashtag private practice, hashtag small guys. I'd like to see the small guys win. At the note, a lot of people don't want to be recorded either, kind of makes the hair stand up on the back of their neck. I used to be like that, and I've kind of gotten over that. But it takes getting used to. T4 from Autism U, behavior is foundation for interoperability. Demand replicable behavior science and EHR shift to prevent versus crisis care. Yeah, isn't that cool? That is very cool. Leonard Kish, T4, be there. That's all he said, and that's all that needs to be said, I think. To Raju Shreth, to Jonathan Ware, how do you keep all those great phrases in your head? Thanks for your insightful comments. Yeah, I agree with that. Kathy Hanlon, we can focus on getting to know ourselves as listeners and welcome the be with principles of motivational interviewing. I hope they're starting to teach motivational interviewing in medical school. It really, really is a good way to talk or to help yourself talk to patients. Bernadette Keefe, people have space/mindset Um, care for each other, to listen, to pause when they are supported. MDs need support from teams and hospital systems. Yeah, helps with burnout too if we have support. As a patient, I make a point of thanking docs who truly listen, as it can be rare at times. That's coming from @RustyHo, Michelle Roger. That's nice. Uh, heard Pres where trained patient actually observe communication during visit, give constructive criticism. They certainly need to be doing that in medical school. I think they are some. Bernadette Keefe again, this is part of the quadruple aim, which aids care of the physician to the classic triple aim. Absolutely agree with quadruple aim. We got to be taking care of the physician so we can take care of our patients. Stephen Davidson comments about scribes. Scribes capture data, not story. I work to diagnose with dependence on story. Writing, it helps. Keen, not so much. I bet you that's different with different people. Although I think there's some data that writing things down helps you remember it better than keen. Sarah Green at Research Matters comments that the joy in practice can be created and cultivated. MDs deserve as much. And Helena Hamilton, again, the woman who went to the Vice President of Medical Affairs, said that that individual listened undefensively and convinced me that he cared. And that's probably what kept her from suing. Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you to everyone who joined in on tonight's Healthcare Leader Chat. Your time, tweets, and comments are greatly appreciated. That's from a Healthcare Leader moderator. I think I need to go downstairs and, yes, take care of the patient to take care of the physician to take care of patients. Absolutely. And I think I need to go down and get something to drink. And for all those people who stuck with me, thanks a lot. This was interesting and fun, and I think we need to get Jimmy to do it next time, right? All right, let me see if I can figure out how to turn this off. Have a good evening. Thanks, Chuck. Yeah.